Hello. Taxing of large and unutilized chunks of land across the country may form part of a new set of proposals that a discussion on land reforms is recommending. These and other discussions have been raised at the launch of the 6th Uganda Economic Update Report authored by the World Bank. Welcome to Money Matters. Coming up, tips on how you can join the tourism industry, an ICT student who developed an online money transfer service platform, and a digest of Uganda's economic update. Australia is among others known for its strong mining industry and huge strides it has made in human resource development. This week on the show, we speak to the country's High Commissioner to the 6 East African countries, including Uganda, John Feakes, on the opportunities it offers and the support the country currently extends to Uganda in both areas.
Mr. Ambassador, it's very nice to have you on the show, Money Matters. Now, break for us the kind of support that you're extending to this initiative here, the education initiative in this place.
To the school? Yes. Well, we provided the funds which enabled them to build the block that we just opened, including this room that we're sitting in at the moment. But beyond that, there are a range of individual Australian donors who've banded together to support this school, and you may have met Marsha out there earlier, who has, through her organisation, raised almost $500,000 Australian dollars for this school, which is testament to what a fantastic job they're doing here. I mean, you like me, met some of the boys and girls, you know, very, very impressive. The head girl, Erin, is a wonderful example of the sort of students that this place is producing. A very heartwarming welcome too.
Now, let's look at the education sector in general. How much support does the Australian government extend to the education sector in Uganda?
In Africa, it's very difficult to single out Uganda because a lot of our money goes through the UN or through NGOs. But the figure is, last year was 320 million Australian dollars to Africa, plus another 160 million, that's in aid, another 160 million for peacekeeping in Africa, and private donations total about 100 million, so we're looking at about 600 million total. In Uganda, we've, since 2007, I think the figure is 251 Ugandans have studied in Australia on scholarships. We're working closely in agriculture, both to extend crop life, but also to work on eliminating some of the more common diseases in cattle and sheep and goat herds, and a range of other sort of research projects. We're also working quite carefully or closely with your extractive sector, running workshops, study courses, visits to Australia, and the aim of that is to ensure that the community benefits from large mining and resource projects. So companies need to make money, the government needs to get money through the taxation system, but local communities also need to benefit, both in terms of business opportunities, but also employment. So our focus is working with organisations that can help local communities benefit from your very large mineral and petroleum endowment that you have.
Now, talking about oil and gas, our biggest challenge is with human resource capacity to actually exploit those resources. What's the level of engagement between the Australian government and that of Uganda to actually build capacity in that area?
The scholarships that we provide and the short courses that we provide are focused in two areas: agriculture and extractives. So we run short courses in Uganda and in Australia, and longer postgraduate degrees, focusing specifically on the extractives industry, on how you manage an extractives industry, and that ranges from how you manage the fiscal terms of large extractive projects, how you manage the environmental aspects of it, how you manage the commercial aspects of it. So it's pretty comprehensive.
Uganda is part of the East African community, and I know you represent Australia in all these countries plus Somalia. If you to look at us, for starters, How have you engaged this community for business and trade? And do you think as member states we're doing enough to actually engage you in return?
Listen, I think it's a very exciting part of the world. And my message to Australian business is come to East Africa, because as I said earlier, you've got, you know, a young, highly talented, entrepreneurial group of young people, increasingly skilled workforce. You've got economies which are growing very healthily. I mean, the Ugandan economy will probably grow at 3 times the rate of the Australian economy. If you want to do business in Africa, there's good telecommunications infrastructure. Increasingly, the governments in this part of the world, Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, are investing in infrastructure, roads, airports, power, which is all critical. Solid banking systems. This is the place to be. It's a jumping off point for the rest of Africa, particularly in this part of the world. So listen, we're very optimistic. There are challenges, but all these countries, well, particularly Uganda and Tanzania and Kenya and Rwanda as well, heading in the right direction. We'll wait and see what happens in Somalia. I think in Somalia we're talking about a country which is coming together rather than falling to bits, which is what the conversation we've been having for the last 25 years. And in Burundi, well, we all know what's happening there, so we'll just have to wait and see.
How is Somalia, in your view? Do you think it's ready for business?
Listen, I think it's important when you look at Somalia to step back. I mean, if you look at it on a day-to-day basis, you can be overwhelmed by the violence and the uncertainty. But if you step back and look at it through a longer lens and think about Somalia even 3 years ago and Somalia now, there's progress undoubtedly. Al-Shabaab remains a very pernicious threat in Somalia and in other parts of East Africa, but it no longer is in control of any major urban area. There is a government established by the Somali people. There are elections due next year. So if you step back, progress is there. It's not spectacular, but it's incremental. And when you compare it to what's happening in, say, Syria or Yemen, where you're talking about societies fragmenting, in Somalia, as I said earlier, you're talking about a country coming together again. So I think cautious optimism, very cautious optimism.
The World Bank Group has released its 6th Economic Outlook Report, a yardstick through which it evaluates government's development agenda of the year. In this edition of Insight, we bring you expert thoughts on the report's highlighted key economic realities ranging from a weak foreign exchange position, increasing loan costs and uncertainty driven by the 2016 elections.
The local currency in particular has failed to recover ground against the dollar, resultantly raising costs for general imports, a development the business community says is made worse by other factors.
The way government is spending and the way they have decided to increase new constituencies, new districts, which is again an expansionary measure because they are going to increase the administrative costs, which is expansionary, and it fundamentally contradicts what the Bank of Uganda is doing. So for us, we are left in the we are boxed by the two bodies because they are both from government, but they are sending different signals, conflicting signals to the economy.
And with the general election calendar now falling into place, the Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development remains on the defensive over public concerns on excessive expenditures.
We are programming second quarter releases strictly to deal with issues of elections. And by the way, elections are budgeted for, and we are going to live within the expenditures of the elections, within the expenditures of the requisite investment arrangements. We now have a cash flow on the requirements of investment in roads. I know it because I've come from that meeting now. I know the requirements of Electoral Commission between now and February. I know the requirements of other agencies that are involved in elections. I have already programmed that expenditure. It is within the expected expenditure this quarter.
However, a cross-section of business owners say that there is need for a more diversified effort besides constant sterilization of the local currency against the dollar.
Because you can, central bank intervenes, you manage the exchange rate. But if there are no exports, or you don't reduce your imports, fundamentally, I'll go back to Dr. Suma's questions, supply and demand. If you don't have adequate supply of dollars, your rate is going to depreciate. So we do need to think that, fine, we're doing all this infrastructure, but what's the next step? After we've done the infrastructure, where is Uganda going to invest to increase its GDP?
Dr. Ezra Surumai, former Minister for Finance and Planning, admits as much that the challenges around the shilling is far off.
So they have done their best to balance the supply of money with the dollars that are coming in or available. Although that's not the problem, that the supply and demand is not the main problem affecting the value of the shilling, that things have changed dramatically. So the problem lies elsewhere.
Releasing this year's 6th Uganda Economic Update report, the World Bank has also raised caution against widespread expenditures by government and which are not directed towards critical areas of productivity.
Is the fiscal prudence in the face of election and related spending pressures? Secondly, is the lower aid flows, because much as the revenues have improved last financial year, we have seen the factors that led to the increase, so there is still need a more fundamental increase in revenue mobilization, because much as we have lower external aid, the revenues are still at 12, below 13%.
The type of pipes for water or electricity conduits used in your house can determine if your water supply will have leakages or could even aid a power short circuit and fire in your house. On Consumer Insight this week, we examine what you should know before you buy or install water pipes or conduits in your house.
There are terms that you will encounter when procuring water pipes to use for your housing project: PVC, HDPE, and PPR. While they sound technical, it is worth knowing them, at least basically.
An example of a PVC pipe is this one. Okay, is this one. This is a PVC pipe. Okay, it's used for water supply at home. This also is a PVC pipe, a bigger one. This is also used for distribution of water. The second class of pipes after PVC is HDPE, high density polyethylene pipes. Okay? These are pipes which are used also for domestic water supply. They perform much better than PVC. They are less prone to cracking. You can bend it. If I try to bend PVC, it will break. This one can be folded. You have seen them in rolls. That's HDPE. The third category of plastic pipes are PPR, polypropylene. That is one which is now almost taking over again PVC, HDPE. It can be used for both hot and cold water supply, unlike the rest. Okay? It works very nicely and is also flexible.
When it comes to wastewater evacuation for your septic tank, a thinner layer pipe is appropriate. When wiring, you also use pipes called conduits.
And we test them in the lab for burning flammability. You can see this one was a bit burnt. It should burn for less than 15 seconds, not more than 15 seconds, and die out. In other words, it should not be flammable. But the problem is that some suppliers are shrewd. They use this ordinary polythene paper bag. They recycle it. They make into this, which is highly flammable. And should there be electric short circuit in the building, the fire is started from the conduits.
Do your own test on a sample with fire. If it continues burning beyond 15 seconds, do not buy. Size also matters for your house water pipe installation.
If you put pipes whose diameter are too small, you will not get enough water. Again, if you put in too big, the pressure will be very high. There will be a lot of leakage on water on you.
All the water pipes sold on the market are supposed to be labeled to ascertain that they meet standards.
Exactly. Some people do not label the pipes. If you find a pipe is not labeled, it's most likely to be fake. All right? These pipes are supposed to, by our regulations, supposed to be very clearly labeled.
It is clear that metal water pipes are no longer ideal for all the risks to life involved because they rust and sooner or later burst due to pressure. If the whole task of identifying the right pipes for your home is daunting, at least get a qualified and trusted plumber to make the right recommendations for you. It pays though if you too are in the know.
Tourism is currently big business in the country. And in Make Money this week, we show you how you can join this business as a tour operator and how you can make the most out of it.
If you want to tap into the opportunities available in the tourism sector, to be more specific, that of becoming a tour operator, it's very important that before you start off, you acquaint yourself with the associated formalization process.
You could start by registering a website, registering with a national body, then other organizations like Auto for Uganda, Association of Uganda Tour Operators. Then you go on expanding.
With that out of the way, to successfully run this business, it's a necessity that you have foolproof knowledge about the developments of the sector.
The knowledge is important because you can't sell or market what you don't know. You must understand the product. We have different ranges of products. I specialize in bird watching. So if you don't know the birds, you can't market them.
Again, for business sustainability, you must uphold good ethical values. This is also to guarantee credibility.
You have very many tour operators who start out of the blue. They go on someone's website, they copy and paste. Some do that, but over time, the business breaks down. When it comes to the professionals, we do the research.
And to attain this knowledge, there are training institutions to help you achieve this.
You can go to Makerere, you can go to Ginger at HTTI. There are short courses which are offered about tours, designing tour packages.
You may also want to think about joining an association, for this will make it easy for you to remain relevant among all the other existing companies, as well as increase your clientele.
You need referral points. Everybody sending an inquiry like to my company will say, where do you belong? Who knows you? How do we trust you with our money? Remember that I'm paid before the trip is executed. When I promise I'll show you the shoe bill, you pay me in advance. Whether I show you the shoe bill or not, the only thing is that I don't guarantee it. So if I say I belong to Safari Guides Association, they'll find out. I belong to the Association of Uganda Tour Operators, it's credible.
The tourism sector is one of the greatest foreign exchange earners for the country and hence provides a myriad of business opportunities, which if equipped with the right information can make sense to you as an entrepreneur.
Today, technology has changed almost the way everything operates, with young developers across the country tapping into the online commerce space to create business solutions. This week on The Entrepreneur, we tell you as the story of Kenneth Ntende, an ICT student who developed an online money transfer platform to rival giants in the market. Technology is moving things, essentially everything from ordering for basic products to paying for them online. This is an area that propelled Kenneth Ntende into business.
This pays a money remittance and payment platform. So we came up with this at the beginning of the year, considering, we're doing multiple other projects on the side, and realized the major hurdle that we were facing in line with most of these online products is the fact that people could actually not be paid. Meaning people are making websites over and over again, but at the end of the day, the moment you make a website and you cannot be paid, it's as good as you wasting your time, more or less.
And for some as young as Kenneth, starting a business of this nature takes just more than being interested. He shares his story.
First of all, you need the connections. It's not like you just walk up to MTN and tell them, we want to integrate with your systems. There's a lot of vetting they do. They need to know that you're actually secure. They need to know that you actually have the backup. You need the legal backup as well. You need the licenses in the various countries that you're going to operate in. So for you to get started, you first need to get the actual groundwork done, meaning first of all, the technology bit, putting up that website. 2, you need to liaise with all these other telecoms and whichever providers you're going to work with so that they allow you to actually integrate with their systems to make the system work in real time.
So how does this platform, DusuPay, work?
We're built on mobile money. At the same time, we're built on frameworks like Visa. So essentially, you're not only dealing with us, but rather these other trusted frameworks. Once someone sends you money, it's going to come directly to your mobile money account. It's not like we are keeping it for you. We're just the channel that facilitates actual money movement.
When it comes to transacting money, trust is key. I put it to Kenneth how safe DusuPay is compared to other international platforms.
This is what they call encryption in the technology world. So you'll see sites like Facebook, Google, sites like Yahoo, they have the same encryption that we have. Meaning you'll see something at the beginning of the URL, it's called HTTPS. So that alone is an added level of security. In addition to that, we're hosted with, I don't know if people know the Windows Azure. The Windows Azure is one of the biggest cloud services, the most expensive in the world, literally. Now, by the time we're able to put our service there, so for you to hack into our systems, you'll need to pass through Microsoft in order to get to us. So by default, there are those multiple layers of security before you actually get to the system.
Kenneth also says startups like his are not unique to challenges affecting online commerce businesses.
The first is the capital, of course. Considering we're in Africa, not very many people have a lot of disposable cash that they would be willing to invest in any company. So whenever someone starts a company, they think maybe the money will come in, but just in case it does not take some time for money to come in from their clients, usually there are chances of that given product or that given startup crashing.
Just early days in business, this young entrepreneur says business is already showing signs of growth with great expectations.
This is the 3rd month of operation, just that we really haven't been marketing a lot, but we're literally seeing millions of money being moved every day. Meaning this is something that works efficiently. And we want DusuPay.com to be used all over the continent, whereby you can just come to the website www.dusupay.com and be able to send money anywhere in the world as conveniently and cost effectively as possible.
And now let's have a quick look at what's happening in the financial markets. That's it this week on Money Matters on NTV. My name is Malcolm Musime. Thank you for watching. In case you want to get back to us, you can text us on 6565. You could also look for NTV Money Matters on Facebook. Leave your comments and views. Otherwise, keep it NTV.